Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. I'm going to talk to you this morning a little bit about fishing rods. In the past, there wasn't a lot of selection you could get on fishing rods. You could get a ultralight or a light or a medium or medium heavy or a heavy. And that was about it. It was more about the strength of the rod instead of the action of the rod itself. But nowadays you can buy rods. You can select rods that are fast action or slow action or medium action. And that's not the strength of the rod, that's the time it takes for the rod to get to the point of the most load it's going to take, that it's going to build up. So when you go to set the hook, if you got a fast action rod, it's going to apply that maximum pressure at a faster pace. So when you set the hook, the rod doesn't have to come back as far, and it takes pulls the line up tighter faster, and you get a slower action and it'll do just the opposite of that. You say, well, why would we need that? Okay, let's give a couple of scenarios here. Let's say you're fishing for largemouth bass and they're in a lot of grass or lily pads, or they're back in the brush, and you're throwing a spinner bait or a swim jig or a swim bait, something that'll come through that. Well, you're going to be fishing with heavy braided line, more than likely. You should be in a situation like that, so that you can feel the hit and there's no stretch in the line. You get immediate contact as soon as you go to set the hook. Well, you'll want a fast action rod so that rod loads up faster, and you immediately set the hook and begin taking that fish out of that heavy cover as soon as you start to set the hook. Okay. And in a situation where a slow action rod will work for you really well is if you are fishing, let's say for crappie. Okay, you know, a crappie's got a real soft mouth, and you need to kind of take the human factor out of setting the hook. So you get a slow action rod, and it's going to take a longer period of time for that rod to build up the amount of pressure that it can apply to the line. So it's going to take out, even if you forget that I'm crappie fishing and I don't need to rip this thing's head off, so that you don't pull the hook out of its mouth and rip its lip out, then it'll take a longer time for that rod to load up. So you need a slower action rod. That is, again, entirely a different thing from being a slow or a fast action, or being a light or a heavy action. Okay, it's an entirely different thing. It is not the same thing. If you see, this is a Sougayiland 7-foot medium action, medium rod, but it's a fast action. See that right there? I'm gonna try to get that in focus for you. It's a fast action, medium power. Now that means that this is going to take a medium amount of, it's going to apply a medium amount of force, not real heavy force, but it's going to get to that point really fast. It's kind of like a drag race car. Okay, your personal vehicle that you drive will run more than likely 120, 130 mile an hour if you could get out in a straight stretch and just hold it right down on the floor. But it'd take it a long time to get to that speed. You get in a drag race car, runs 120, 130 miles an hour, but it'll get to that speed a lot faster. That's exactly the same principle of these fast action rods and the slow action rods. So what you got to do is you got to think about the application in which you're fishing. Am I going to be trying to pull fish out of heavy cover? Do I want to be able to set the hook and set it real hard, real fast? So like if you're catfishing and you're vertical fishing, so you're going to be fishing with J hooks, or you're fishing under a float, when that goes down and you come back on that fish, you want to get immediate power to that hook as soon as possible, so that fish doesn't feel what's going on and have time to just open its mouth and let go. So it gives you the opportunity to set the hook much better. But nowadays, where they got all this new material, they got carbon fiber they're going to make them out of, and they make different layers in different places on the rod. Say like on a spinning rod, you're going to get an extra layer of these when they're made, that's going to be on the back of the rod, and it's to give it backbone. And then the farther up the rod that extra layer goes, is how fast your action is going to be. If it's back away from the tip, then your tip's going to take a lot more bend before it actually loads up with the maximum amount of power that rod can make without breaking. So that's the thing. I wanted to show you this little rod though. This is a Sougayiland. It's a 7-foot, and it's a fast action, but it's a medium power. I like the way that woven looks with that carbon fiber. That is so neat. They've done a great job on the eyes on this rod. It's really sensitive. I've had my daughter take her finger and just as lightly as she can tap the end of the rod, just holding it like this, and you can feel it come all the way down through the handle really well with that carbon fiber. And I've got it paired up with one of their RY 2000 reels. I like this reel because it has a really good drag system. It's accessible during a fight. That makes a big difference. That you can get to pretty easy, and it's very sensitive drag. It has everything that I wanted in a reel. It's got aluminum reel seats. Okay, it's got cork all over, and it's got what I call a set butt. So when you go to set the rod, set the hook, you can put that in your stomach and it give you a real good anchor point, so that if you need to set the hook, it give you an opportunity to really power down up on that line. You know, on this rod, that's not going to happen. You know, of course, I mean, this is not a power rod, but for them to put that on these rods as cheap as you can get them. This rod I got for about 22 bucks, and for a 7 foot with that kind of action and the way this rod appears to be built, you know, who knows? I don't know. I get it out on the lake and may hook a 2-pound bluegill and it may blow the rod all to pieces. I don't know, but I don't think it will. I do not think it will. I've not had anything that I've ever had an issue with from these folks that ever give me a problem. But it's just a good looking rod. It's a good feeling rod, and it pairs well with this little 2000 size reel. I've got this reel spooled up with Trilene XL smooth casting, so you can put on a light lure or on a really small float if you're going to fish up in treetops or on the edge of grass beds for bluegill, but you need to stay back out of them. You can throw a long way with this little deal. Or if you're going to be fishing with jigs or swim bait, you can stay back away from the brush, and you can throw way up in it, and that'll help you a lot when you're trying to catch fish. You don't disturb them nearly as much. I've got it in the color of clear blue fluorescent for a reason. I've got black lights that I use when I crappie fish at night, and this stuff shows up, looks like an anchor rope, this color, the clear blue fluorescent under black light. So guys, I just wanted to go over some stuff and talk to you briefly about the importance of the actions to look for on your rod. Depends on the kind of fishing you're doing. If you need a heavy hook set and you need it quick and you need to pull the fish out of the area that he's in real fast, you want a heavy action rod, medium to heavy action rod, but you want a fast action. Okay, you need medium to heavy power, but a fast action, so that maximum amount of pressure that rod's going to be able to put out will be reached quicker, and it'll get you the fight back on your side than it is for the small fish. I'm sorry about all the traffic. I'm outside on my porch again. But guys, that's just some of the stuff you need to look for when you're purchasing a rod. We're going to be getting back out on the lake now that we've actually got a little bit of rain, and it's kind of livened the water back up. It's just been dead here. So and I've got some other stuff coming down the road, some more deer hunting prep stuff that I'm going to be getting some videos out to you. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Hope to see you out there somewhere. This is a Fat Man. I'm gone.